In December 1944, the United States Supreme Court ruled in ex parte Mitsuye Endo that it was beyond the power of the War Relocation Authority to detain citizens against whom no charges of disloyalty or subversiveness have been made for a period longer than that necessary to separate the loyal from the disloyal. Detainees were released, often to resettlement facilities and temporary housing, and the camps were shut down by 1946. In the years after the war, the incarcerated Japanese Americans had to rebuild their lives. United States citizens and longtime residents who had been incarcerated lost their personal liberties, their homes, businesses, property, and savings. In 1948, President Harry S. Truman signed the Evacuation Claims Act, which gave incarcerates the opportunity to submit claims for property lost because of relocation. On February 19, 1976, President Gerald Ford signed a proclamation formally terminating Executive Order 9066 and apologized for the internment.
We now know what we should have known then. Not only was that evacuation wrong, but Japanese Americans were and are loyal Americans. On the battlefield and at home, the names of Japanese Americans have been and continue to be written in America's history for the sacrifices and the contributions they have made to the well-being and to the security of this, our common nation.
It also established a fund that paid $1.6 billion in reparations to formerly incarcerated Japanese Americans or their heirs. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter signed legislation to create the Commission on Wartime Relocation and Internment of Citizens. The commission was appointed to conduct an official government study of Executive Order 9066, related wartime orders, and their effects on Japanese Americans in the West and Alaska Natives in the Pribilof Islands. In December 1982, the Commission issued its findings that the incarceration of Japanese Americans had not been justified by military necessity and was based on race prejudice, war hysteria, and a failure of political leadership. The Commission recommended an official government apology and redress payments of $20,000 to each of the survivors. On August 10, 1988, the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, H.R. 442, to honor the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, was signed into law by President Ronald Reagan. On October 9, 1990, a ceremony was held to present the first reparation check. Shortly thereafter, surviving incarcerates began to receive individual redress payments and a letter of apology from President George H.W. Bush. A monetary sum and words alone cannot restore years or erase painful memories. Neither can they fully convey our nation's resolve to rectify injustice and to uphold the rights of individuals. We can never fully right the wrongs of the past, but we can take a clear stand for justice and recognize that serious injustices were done to Japanese Americans during World War II. In Sacramento, California, a news conference was happening at the same time the first checks were being handed out. Henry Takeda, who was incarcerated in 1942 with his wife, agreed that the payments would not erase everything. He said, "This gesture will lessen the pain and perhaps heal the wounds, but the scars will remain. I, for one, cannot forgive and cannot forget that this took place 48 years ago. I dedicate my remaining active years to be eternally vigilant that what has happened to the Japanese Americans solely because of what they were and not what they had done would never occur again."
There's no way you could put a price on what happened to us, whether it was $20 or $20,000. So, and then a lot of people that I thought should have gotten something didn't get it. Because like my mother, I got a check for her, that nobody ever in that position or the deceased got the check from the government.
She told him the story of what happened to us during World War II, how we lost our constitutional rights, and why she wanted to let teachers know and teach about this so that children in the future would be prepared and not let this happen to another group. In 1988, the Civil Liberties Act was passed. We fought for, received, and accepted redress. And I was a child. It was, my grandparents' fight, and my parents did the fighting, but I am the recipient. The apology was really quite important. It meant we had done nothing wrong.
There's nothing I could say about that. Why was it given? They felt that this is going to redeem the what they did to us. But to me, it was too late. The ones that deserved it are all gone. And all the kids, like my kid sister, she was only 1 year old. She got $20,000. My father lost the business, didn't get a penny. And my mother suffered. She didn't get nothing. So it was wrong. It's too late. But we accept it.